Hello you lot, hope you're all fine and dandy. Now, it's been popular request since the other day when I went out and had a go with a Savage, put the video up. As we all know, if you watched it, what happened was it did a wheelie, flipped, didn't have the shell on, and the engine dug into the floor, into the mud, and the engine just stopped dead. It didn't flip a bit and then slowly conk out, it just stopped dead. And then when it started again, it was a bit stiff and it didn't want to run, and then it ran and it was fine. But then it lost compression. I drove it over to the car to do something, can't remember what, and I was trying to start it again, it wouldn't start, and then all of a sudden it had very little compression. I took the glow plug out and put it back, and it was back again. Now, I didn't think anything of it, and I have not thought anything of it since, because after that it ran like a mint. But it's been popular request amongst you lot. You want me to take it apart and you want me to try and see what happened and what caused it to happen. So I can't see anything wrong with that, so that's what we're going to do. There it is, Savage SS. Let's take it apart, see if we can find out what might have caused it to lose compression and why it all of a sudden came back again, and we'll even find out if it's got compression now, because it's gone stone cold again now. So let's move you over here. Oh, by the way, this Fast Tracks Rotostar, I repaired this. It was completely broken. I repaired it the other day, done a full video on it. So if you want to see what I done to repair this Rotostar that was non-functional because the gears had stripped out on the inside, go and have a look at that video. I'll see you in a minute. Oh, I did another modification as well. I changed all the connectors over to use XT60s instead of Tamiya. Anyway, let's move you over here. Start taking things apart, shall we? Yeah, I know, I do need to get a bit of a better bench set up, but I'm not made of money, you see, so we just have to make do with what we've got here. So, as you can see there, what happened was, and you can see here, look, it was in, I took it out in the mud, done a wheelie, flipped over, and the first thing that hit was this head, and it jabbed in, flipped it over. It was going quite fast, flipped it over, but the engine stopped completely dead. We've definitely got all of our compression back now, but those of you want to see what caused it, because at one point when I was trying to start it again, it was just, it lost probably 80% of its compression. So I think what we need to do is take these head bolts out, because really the only thing that could have happened that I can think of is, don't forget the top of this is going to have quite a lot of leverage down there on the block and where the bolts go in and that. The bolts are tight, but there'll be quite a lot of leverage, especially at that speed and the way that it done a wheelie. There'll be a lot of force jabbing in there, and it will want to bend it up and forwards. So it's obviously not bent the studs or ripped them out, and not the studs, the bolts, or ripped them out of the block, because they stayed tight, they haven't lost their threads. And the fact that the compression was fine immediately after the crash, but it lost it about 2 minutes afterwards when I was trying to start it. So something's a bit funny there, but because it ran fine after, I never even I've not given it a second thought. I mean, for me, the fact that it runs, that's all I care about. I don't really care about what happened and what caused something to happen. If it's fixed itself, happy days. When things fix themselves, you leave them alone. There is the head. Bent the fins ever so slightly there. Look, don't know whether that's focusing on that, but it's bent the fins ever so slightly, but that'll be fine. I mean, this engine here, if you would excuse me for a moment, this engine here is a 0.21 3.5. This was the original engine that was in my Savage 21, which now has a K4.6 in it, but I snapped that off of there. And there's no, you can snap one of these, you can snap a whole sort of 4 or 5 of these off. It won't really affect the engine at all. You know, and to be honest, on that topic of engine heads, I do need to do a whole video on it actually, really, because there seems to be some kind of myths and misconceptions about as far as engine temperatures and heads and everything like that goes. But a lot of people seem to think that when they're ticking over, they're going to get too hot and overheat. Well, in actual fact, it's the opposite. An engine ticking over is going to be cooler than an engine that flat out round a field. There will become a point when it does start to get hot, but that's after a certain amount of time. I'll do a video on that and we'll talk about it in depth, and well, I'll talk about it to myself, but you'll be able to hear it later on. But this head seems absolutely fine. I can't see any problem with the head, but to be honest, that wouldn't cause it to lose compression. So there's the button. I can't see any problem with the button either. Now this is the top of the block. I don't know about you, but I can't see any trouble there. Bloody hell, look. Not even got a head on it, and I can lift it up with a pull start. Anyway, I don't see anything wrong here. A nice piston. I mean, there isn't anything that I can see. Let me get you in closer. I mean, part of me probably may have been expecting a crack here where the head was on the top there, and it's been levered from the top, so there's maximum force. Don't forget, the higher something is levered, the longer further away from the pivot point, the more force there will be. But there's no cracks anywhere around here. Everything seems to be fine. I mean, I can't see anything wrong with anything at all. So, and here's the button. Now, there was a small amount of nitro bubbling up around the plug when I started it up for the very first time after it stopped and had a little crash. But, you know, there's no problem here. The button is in one piece. So, what the problem was, I don't know. But it remedied itself. It fixed itself. I mean, there could be a crack further down in the block, but I can't see that causing a problem, considering that this is a sleeved engine. It's a linered engine. It's got a liner in it. You know, if it was just a solid block, then a crack could well go all the way through. But because we've got the liner in between the piston and the block, if there's a crack on the block, yes, it will move around, but it won't affect the way the engine runs, as far as I can think, because, well, the liner's the one that does the sealing, you know. So there we go. One engine taken to bits, and I can't see anything wrong with it. I'm not going to go taking it out of the truck. I'm not going to go taking it apart. I'm not going to take the crank out. I'm not going to take the piston out, because there's no need to. And, you know, where I'm from, you don't take things apart unless you need to. Simple as that. I know some of you out there, every bloody weekend you have your engines out and you take them apart completely. Bearings and everything. Whatever floats your boat. That doesn't float my boat. So, at least not today. So, let's put the button back on. Put the head back on. And, you know, some people were also saying in the video there, you see, it's difficult for me to be serious. I can't be serious. I can be serious, but I'm a humorous person. You know what I mean? I'm a sarcastic person as well. Sarcasm You know, even my own family, my own mum and dad, they always think I'm being serious when I'm just being sarcastic a lot of the time. And there's a lot of misconstrues and misconceptions, all kinds of misunderstandings happen between me and other people. But see what it is, let me explain why it was running so badly in that video. This is a can, and it used to house high performance Optimix SLV super light viscosity race fuel 25%. But then I used it all, and it was then my can where I just put any old fuels. You know, if I get any car such as these things that I buy and sell, any old car from subscribers, eBay, whatever, I buy and sell them. I buy them, I get them running, then I sell them. If they come with any fuel in them, you know, whatever, I need to drain it out for whatever reason, I drained it out, and it would end up in this can. There's a mixture of 16%, 20%, 25%, probably some 30%. You know, there's probably some WD-40 mixed in there. This was a can that just had everything in it, and I don't like to waste anything, so I burn it off in there, or in any other car that I tend to run. You know, if I'm not aiming to get a good tune on a car, if I just want to go out and have some fun, I'll just use this fuel, because if throwing it away is a waste, and using it doesn't do any harm. The only thing is, a mixture of percentages, different oils and anything else, the way that the different fuels, different brands, it'll just create a concoction. And it just means the engine won't run particularly well. It means it will run a bit rough, you know, it won't be very happy some of the times. It just won't cause any problem to the engine, but it just won't be at its optimal best. And on that particular day, that's what I was running, a mixture of all different types of fuels. So sometimes it'll be running fine, then all of a sudden it will go a bit lean and go, and then it'll go off again and be fine again. It's not the fact that it's gone lean, it's just the fact that it's just the different types of fuels aren't combusting as well as they should do in the combustion chamber. Do you know what I mean? They're not burning as well as they should do, which means the engine coughs and splutters and things like that. But it's no problem whatsoever to the engine. If you try to tune that carburetor using that fuel, you'd be all over the place. You wouldn't stand a chance, because to tune any engine, not just a nitro engine, you need to have a stable fuel source. You need to have a stable, you know, fuel basically. So you need to have, you know, proper nitro, 1%, one brand in there if you're going to do any type of tuning. But on that particular day, I wasn't. I just fancied a go. So that explains it to you lot that are telling me that it was lean on that day. It wasn't lean. It just had bad nitro in it, basically, of my own fault, because I put it in on purpose. Who wants to waste anything? I mean, who wants to waste fuel? Most of all, I mean, do you waste fuel? If you waste any type of fuel, you're an idiot. It's bloody expensive, man. I mean, when I do an oil change on my real car, that old engine oil goes through some filter. I bring it in here. I've got a can. I've got white filter paper to filter out any little bits of metal, any contamination, basically. But don't forget, you've got fuel filters anyway. That's what they're for. And it goes straight in that petrol tank or that diesel tank. Not really petrol these days, but it goes in the diesel tank in the diesel car. When I had my van and my Land Rover Discovery, the engine oil just went straight in it. It'd come out of the engine, I put new oil in it, then that old engine oil straight in the diesel tank to be burned off as fuel, because who wants to waste it? No one wastes anything. Bloody hell. Oh man, I had pizza for dinner this evening, and proper stuffed, man. Made too much of it, but as I say, I don't like to waste food, so I bloody made myself, I've proper forced myself full of it, and I'm proper stuffed. I feel like I can't bloody move. Where are we? We need a cloth. Look, while we're at it, we might as well clean some of this up. So we've got a little bit of dirt around the top here. I didn't bother taking the glow plug out. Just give that a bit of a clean look. There you go, look, perfect again. There's not even any carbon build up around here or anything, but then again, this engine hasn't been run nearly enough to build up any sort of carbon. And for those of you that asked how many shims are on the button, you've got one, bloody hell, I bent it, they're well thin, they're thin little shims. 1, 2, 3, 3 shims on there. You probably can't see, but there's 3 shims, 2 thick ones and 1 really thin one. I am quite tempted to remove the thin one, but it runs really well as it is, so I'm going to leave it on. Maybe in the future I'll take a shim out and we'll gain a little bit of compression again, and maybe we'll have a bit of extra power, but it runs really well, you know, and it's how it's designed to run. So obviously if you're running different percentage, I don't know what percentage fuel these are actually set up to run, to be honest, probably 25, but if you're running different fuels. Why should we have the head face? It was facing that way originally. I think I'll have it facing the same way. You can turn it around any orientation that you want. I'll put that in there. What we'll do, we'll fire her up just to make sure that she's running alright. I want to take this out tomorrow morning. For some reason, I've had a lot of requests to do a tuning guide, as some of you call it, with a Savage. But neither of my Savages have the original engines in, so the guide isn't going to be very good, because it's not going to be as if it has an original engine. But I'll see if I can be serious enough for a long enough period of time to do an actual helpful guide. I used to do a lot of helpful guides, but I suppose as I've got older I've just got more sarcastic, and people find it hard to take me serious. Anyway, well, I'm not serious, so there you go. I just think you only live once, so you've got to enjoy life. Always remember when you're doing up a head, a gearbox, anything which requires a sealing, a mating surface, a sealed surface, do it in a cross fashion. So da, 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 da. Yeah, or if it's more bolts in a circle, you go diagonally from corner to corner, side to side, and you keep doing that, and you do little bits each time. You don't go all the way down, you do it in little bits until eventually you're at the required torque. Well, in this case there probably is somewhere, but the torque settings for Nitro engine heads, you know, I don't know what they are, and I dare say there may well be some but I don't know what they are and I haven't got them. So there we go. Have we got any no, we've run out. So now this is actual nitro fuel. This isn't a concoction, this isn't a mixture. I used all of that, that's all gone. This is actual 25%. It's the last of my 25%. All I've got left after this is 30% and 16, so I'll have to buy some more fuel fairly soon. But let's put a bit of that in, and then I'm not going to heat it up. We'll use the other glow starter. I'm not going to heat it up, and we'll see if it's going to fire up. I have got to adjust the throttle and all that kind of stuff because something's gone a bit dicky with that. I don't know what's happened with that. A little bit of primage. There we go. Should run fine because it ran fine before. No, not before. After the crash, it ran fine. After the compression came back. seems to be running alright at tick over anyway. We'll see what it's like when it goes out next and be ran. I mean, I plan on doing that tomorrow morning, going and making the video on how to tune it. Of course it'll be controversial because everyone's got their own ways and their own methods, but as always, my guides are there to help people who are starting off or they just don't know, you know. Anyone who knows what they're doing and has their own ways, you shouldn't be watching a guide, really, should you? So there we go. But then again, having said that, you can always learn. There's, you know, every day is a school day, is a saying over here in England. One of the other things which has been an issue now for months, I've just not been bothered to try and sort it out, but I should do. See, I'm one of these people where, you know, if I'm out and about with the car and, you know, I've only got limited amount of time because it's just the way things are. I don't have loads of time to be wasting doing stuff. I just want to have fun. So if the throttle, for example, isn't quite working as it should do, you know, it's that thing a lot of people seem to have the problem. It's a normal thing with a nitro car. You let off the brakes, and as soon as you let off the brakes, it speeds off because the throttle's not set properly, which is the case here. I don't care about that. Do you know what I mean? I can work with it. Do you know what I mean? I'm one of those people. I mean, I can drive a real car with no clutch. You know, just change the gears without a clutch, and when you go to stop, knock it in neutral, and when you want to go again, either turn the car off, put it in gear and start it, or I can stick it slowly in gear and it'll creep forward and then it'll go in gear and then I can carry on from there. Anyway, a bit off topic there, but what I'm trying to say is I'm one of these people that just gets on with things, you know what I mean? I'm not bothered about stopping and going, oh my god, it's not quite perfect, it's ruined my day. I'm not like that. But, which is why this problem's been ongoing now for months. So what I've got the classic problem. I've remedied it briefly just by adjusting the throttle trim, but that means now I don't get full throttle because I've turned the throttle trim all the way down. So it means that when I let go of the brakes, like that, it still does twitch the throttle ever so slightly. See, that's the brakes on. When I let the brakes off, watch the throttle just move a little bit. See? But now that means because I've turned it all the way down, more or less, I don't actually get full throttle anymore. I only get probably 3/4 throttle. So it needs to be adjusted by moving this little end. Probably I'm going to have to screw it inwards a bit and then turn the throttle trim back up again, because at the moment it's favouring the brakes. I need it to be in the middle, more or less, and that way it should, when I let off the brakes, the servo should come back to the neutral position and the throttle shouldn't move at all, and then when I do full throttle I should still get full throttle. So I'm going to play around with that now and see if we can get it to be, you know, pretty much spot on now that I'm taking the time to actually remedy the problem. Okay, so a little bit of playing around. I think I've managed to get it. It's not perfect and it never will be, let's be honest. And people trying to get things absolutely perfect, I mean, you might manage it on the bench, but trust me, when it's out there and it's, you know, it's jumping over jumps and it's flipping and it's hitting bumps and whatever else, things aren't going to be perfect. Things are going to be knocked out of line. Things are going to just be knocked. So you've got to get it to where it works and then just be happy with it. So I've managed to get it now. The trim is more or less in the middle position, slightly favouring the brakes, because the way that the servos and everything are set up on a Savage, and I've still got the original Savage linkagery here. A lot of people change them, excuse me, a lot of people change them for different types. I don't know what they do. But so I've managed to get it now, so we get full throttle, on full throttle, that is full throttle there, won't go no more, and then when I do the brakes it goes far enough and the brakes do work very, very well, and when I let go of that the throttle doesn't move. If I let go of it quickly it jolts it ever so slightly, but I'm not worried about that. I'm really not worried about things like that. So there we go. The Savage SS should be back in 100% operation now. Why has she lost compression? I mean, you know, you'll learn this, and you know, I've been playing around with engines for the best part of 25-26 years now. All different types. When I was a proper young kid, you know, I had quad bikes and lawn mowers and all, taking things apart, and old engines and whatever else. Look, I've got pistons all over the place. Engines are mysterious creatures, very mysterious creatures. Sometimes they behave and run perfectly. Sometimes little things happen and you think to yourself, blimey, I wonder what's causing that. But then all of a sudden they'll just fix themselves, they'll remedy themselves, and you think to yourself, what the bloody hell, how can it fix itself? I can't even seem to think what was wrong with it. They're just like a human. Some days you feel well and you're perfect and you're on top of the world. You know, you're running around thinking that you're living your best life. The next day you might feel a little bit unwell, a little bit less energetic, and you think, I don't feel too good. Later on that day you perk up again and you're back to normal. Engines are exactly the same, even though they're made of metal. So there we go, you lot. I'll see you lot on the next one. If you're interested in what I have to share with you lot about how I would tune my Savage, stick around. I'm going to go and do that tomorrow morning probably. I'm going to detune it completely, get it so it's so rich it can just about run, and then we'll go from there. And it's what you lot want to see, so that's what I'm going to do. All the best, you lot. Thanks for being here. Appreciate every single one of you, and just love life, because you only get one. Cheerio.